Hey everybody, Blaise here, and we've got a special treat for you. I'm here with my friend Ronnie Williford, and Ronnie's got an amazing studio. Ronnie's an artist as well, as you've probably seen him on our website. And I thought it'd be really fun to take you guys in and show you what a really great art studio looks like.
This is my spot.
This is
where
awesome.
I get all my work done.
This is awesome. Well, I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let Ronnie kind of talk about his space and kind of the setup and why you have things the way that you do, and maybe some of the projects you're working on.
Yeah, well, I kind of set this studio up the way my brother had set up his studio.
Your brother
when
Hollis.
I was young.
Hollis Williford, yeah.
Hollis, by the time I was 20 years old or so, he was already a very well-known sculptor, and he had a studio kind of like this. It was actually quite a bit bigger because as a sculptor he was doing monumental size things. I've just always really loved having lots and lots of space to work in.
Right.
It was really easy to work in his studio because you had room for everything. You had room for every kind of medium. Where, you know, mold makers would be working on a sculpture here, you could work on a sculpture while they're working on, you know, mold making. And so it's just really nice to have a lot of space, even if you're just working by yourself. Yeah,
I mean, I know when you moved in here, before you had this studio space built, you're working in the living room. And I've had to work in the corner of the living room in my place. And it's a fine place to work, but it gets cramped, it gets tight, and it's hard to...
It's very common
It's hard
for
to
young
live
artists.
there and paint there at the same time.
It's how you get started, you know, it's how you begin.
Tell me about how you got this all put together.
As soon as the building went in, the first thing I did was begin building the loft.
Right.
Because in my brother's studio, when we moved in there, the very first thing we did was build a loft in his studio. And it gives you a place to put all your materials, your canvas, your paint, your paper.
Well, you've got frames up there, you've got old paintings up there, you've got canvas, you've got all kinds of stuff up there.
It gets all of the superfluous off the floor and up in the air so that you've got plenty of room to work.
And then you still got a whole bunch of space underneath, which is interesting. And it's really cool because, you know, you can see you've got your Cintiq over there. You've got, you know, your digital setup is all over.
Yeah, I've got my desk, I've got the Cintiq, there's a computer, I've got my library right here with all the books and the flat files. Yeah. And I've just recently been able to kind of set up my printmaking area.
This is beautiful.
I've been, my brother and I bought this etching press about 1982 or 3. We bought it together, and
this doesn't look like it weighs too much.
Will,
oh my God!
I would like to see you throw it over your shoulder and run. I don't even know how many thousands of pounds this thing.
Yeah, this thing's crazy. Look at that.
But it's very stout, and I've run 1.5 million prints through it.
Well, look at these. You got some new prints right here. They're just beautiful.
Yeah. Those are the ones I did just before Christmas. It was a test run of prints. I was making sure I had acid that was nice and fresh, and that I had some good fresh ink, easy wipe and ground, and you know, I wanted to. If there were any materials I was short on, I wanted to be able to go ahead and order that stuff.
Yeah, these are really stunning, great compositions.
They worked out really slick. I got it's kind of a variety of
Is that the catacombs
here
in Paris?
It is. It is. That's exactly correct.
I actually sat and did a very similar drawing while I was in the catacombs.
Yeah, that's the catacombs.
Very cool.
Hey everybody, Blaise here, and you know, we shot so much with Ronnie at his studio and we couldn't possibly put it all into this video. So if you want to see the full extended video, go on over to creatureartteacher.com, become a member, and you can enjoy the full video. On top of that, you'll also have access to over 700 hours of art lessons, digital brushes, all kinds of great stuff. So once again, go on over to creatureartteacher.com, become a member, enjoy the video, and get all the art lessons. Now, let's go back to the video.
So you've got this amazing board of thumbnails and small drawings. Talk to me about that.
Well, you know what my deal is with thumbnails. I'm a huge believer in doing small drawings.
Your brother did too. You got a lot of inspiration from watching your brother do it, I'm assuming.
Well, and I've watched Ned Jacob do it, and Kang Cho, and all the painters that I aspired to. They all did little thumbnail drawings. As you know, sometimes a thumbnail drawing is nothing more than banishing a thought to paper. You get an idea, or you get a thought in, or you're inspired by something you see in a book or on television, and you jot that down. So you've got it on a little reminder pad.
What's really interesting, you've got all these mermaids right in the middle. And I know you're in the middle of planning this big mermaid show, spectacle, paintings. I was wondering, and we've got some giant drawings. I thought it'd be fun to show everybody and maybe have you talk a little bit about what you're doing with that.
The thumbnail drawings of the mermaids began around 2010 or 11. I had an idea about doing a series of paintings where mermaids discover, you know, let's say humans were a mythology underwater, but they find wrecks and planes and things that actually prove to them that it's real.
These things exist, right?
The things on the other side of the interface are there. And it started with some very small drawings and some little ideas. And like anything else that falls under the category of inspiration, it starts to grow and form and tighten. You might draw a polar bear one day, and the next thing you know, you're animating a whole movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And because it develops into a more finished
There's seeds.
thing.
Yeah.
My seeds in this project are sprouting. I'm just at that point. What I've got planned is a big mermaid one-man show that will travel to a series of museums across the country. We looked at the little thumbnail drawings.
Yeah.
But the drawings I'm doing now,
The scale is awesome.
they're big thumbnail drawings.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting in there and starting to tighten some things up.
I mean, here you've got a 4x8 sheet that you're working on.
Yeah. And I'm not being careful about the sizes. I'm not being careful about measuring anything. I'm thinking about just the work. And
I love that you're drawing these giant thumbnails basically on painter's paper.
Yeah. This is the paper that you get at Lowe's.
It's like $6 a roll.
I
do the same thing. I love it.
I use it because if you're painting on, or if you're drawing on a $300 piece of paper, it tightens you up.
Yeah.
And
you're not afraid to mess it up.
I'm not scared to fail on this. Not that I really would be on the other paper either, but it's just trying to keep it as casual as
really
possible.
Experimental.
Yeah. And I have wadded these up and thrown them away when they haven't worked.
I love this.
I've done some smaller mermaid drawings.
That vertical is great.
Here I've got planned an illuminated mermaid with bioluminescent jellyfish. I've just kind of got a series of paintings in my head that will, some of them will associate humans and mermaids together, but as I progress and as I keep working on this, I start remembering things. This drawing over here with the mermaid and the dolphins, that came from a trip when I was painting in the Sea of Cortez, and we were on a boat coming back from an island towards the mainland, and there was no land in sight anywhere. It was just water.
Yeah.
And right as the sun is starting to go down, I'm looking at the texture of the water changing, and it's getting closer and closer to us. And by the time it was, 300 or 400 yards out, I could see it was thousands and thousands of dolphins.
Wow.
It was pods and pods of dolphins just jumping and swimming.
Right.
And we stopped the boat and I shot some pictures and we talked about it. And I don't know, one night in the middle of the night, I got to thinking about that and I thought I really want to hide a mermaid in that group,
That's great. I love the flying fish in there too.
Yeah, the flying fish were part of the jumping.
Yeah.
But that's the project that I've got going right now.
It's
I've got
super inspiring.
at least another solid year, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Once I get these done, then I got to frame them. And,
That's a whole other project in itself.
I do that too.
Yeah.
In the garage, in the house, I have a wood shop. I have a full wood shop.
Yeah.
And I can make my own frames
Yeah.
and
For those of you that don't know, that's one of the things I love about Ronnie is that he's just a man of so many different trades, and so often you frame your own work. Well, actually, you frame all your own work, don't you?
yeah.
And
I got
really beautiful stuff.
I got really crabby about framers that can't seem to hit a deadline
Yeah.
or don't get nice clean corners, or I don't know. I'm a crabby dude about that sort of
Some
thing.
of these are your frames. Lake Louisa.
Turkey Lake.
Oh, Turkey Lake. There
Yep.
you go. That's awesome.
How would you do this in the corner of your living room?
Right.
How could you
Well,
produce
I mean, exactly.
this kind of work?
I mean, when you walk in here, you just go, oh my God. It's like, this is like walking into the studio in college.
Yeah.
You just want to work.
Yeah,
You want to create.
The whole idea is to be inspired, inspire yourself,
Yeah.
and much less anybody else who walks in the studio, students or whatever. But it's got all the amenities of a regular, that you would require in a studio. I've got flat files. This is full of drawings and just blank paper, printing paper, and the things that you would normally find in flat files. This is a common artist necessity.
And your library, obviously.
I've got all of the instructional and how-to stuff over here. This is all animation library.
We have so many of the same books.
This is primitive art.
That's
down
great.
here from the South Sea Islands to Egypt to Lascaux. Then we've got the Russian painters, the Pre-Raphaelites. So you see it's all
it's great. Better order than mine.
consolidated into order. And whenever I have that impulse where I go, oh, what I would like to do? I need an example of this.
Yeah.
I can come to the library. I know this is an old man way to do it. Normal people now go to Google Photos,
Yeah.
Google Images, but and I do that sometimes too. But this is just how I learned, when you're coming up.
This is so cool. This one, I've always loved showing this off. How you took your animation desk and you've created I guess you adapted your Cintiq to fit inside the hole, right?
Yes, yeah. I built this desk for the disc when we were working on Mulan.
The Acme discs.
And we were working on Mulan, and I never came home. I was never home.
Yeah.
I was at the studio all the time, and I built a desk so that I could bring work home and at least be home
Right.
while I was working.
Right.
And I don't know, I made 4 or 5 movies on this thing.
Yeah.
And when it came time, when I started working on video game stuff, somebody had come to me, Dave Nethery or somebody came to me and said, is there any way we can attach a Cintiq to one of these desks? And I built this shoe
Oh, that's great.
that makes it possible to hook your Cintiq to it. I don't even know, like this is a fairly small Cintiq. This is like a 16 field size
Yeah. Perfect.
Cintiq, and it's not, you probably wouldn't want a bigger Cintiq
Yeah. Well,
for
that's an old
something
school
like
one.
this. Yeah, this is an old one.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
But
That's great. That's why we love Wacom.
but that's, that desk has gone a million miles. And,
Yeah, it really has.
and it's made video games and commercials and kids TV shows and
Love it.
all kinds of stuff. We're always hanging stuff, from
Yeah,
things that people give you or
that's great. Pictures of your brother.
yeah, there's my brother. Lynn
So-
Shamil did this cartoon of Hollis.
Great.
But it's all stuff that people give you, or it's stuff left over from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Tony Stanley.
Yeah.
Tony Stanley did that.
Who created that character?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got a whole bunch of great stuff up here. One drawing in particular is our late, great friend, Press Romanillos.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I love this drawing. Press was the supervisor of the Shan Yu from Mulan. And he also was one of the animators of Pocahontas. And he did this kind of mashup of the two characters.
Yeah, yeah. He gave me this drawing at the end of Mulan, and we had been talking about him. He was going to be leaving the studio. He was going over to DreamWorks, and I helped him pack some things up and helped him kind of get some stuff together to move. And he gave me this drawing of the Shan Yu and Pocahontas together. And he's got a little Tarzan.
I was
teeny
going to
Tarzan
say, it's fun.
drawing.
I like the drawing, but I really love that little thumbnail down in the lower corner.
Yeah, Tarzan is bitching at the Shan Yu because he's swinging Pocahontas like she's Jane.
That's great.
So
He was such an amazing draftsman.
and just
He
a
drew so
really
well.
sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed him.
Yeah,
And,
poor Press. We lost Press about, 15 years ago?
God, has it been that
I
long?
think he passed about 15 years ago, or 12 years ago, something like that.
I've still got his pencil sharpener on my desk
Yeah.
from Disney, the one that he used, making Mulan.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's funny. I did a live stream today, and Press Romanillos came up in the live stream. So that's twice in one day that we
That's
get
really
to talk
cool.
about. Yeah. He had one of the most unique desks at Disney. As a matter of fact, I think it ended up in the Disney Museum.
yeah.
Where Press actually etched into the desk some of the characters that he actually had animated.
That desk really needed to be saved for posterity because
Yeah,
it was
and
an
they
extremely
did.
beautiful,
They saved it for sure.
extremely beautiful thing.
It belongs in a museum. So do you.
This unit here this has got, and whether it is or not, I don't know. It has this really cool kind of Southwest feel to it. And I know this
Yeah.
has got some history. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about this.
Well, it's very purposely Southwest Native American design.
Yeah.
It was my brother's cupboards from his studio that he kept things in. He had it built specifically with the intention of this Southwest design.
Yeah.
And in this one, I've mostly got camera equipment. It's just, it's camera equipment and microphones and things like that. Things I want to keep kind of dust free.
Well, one of the other things I really love too is how you've let some of these 4x4s run wild, and then you trimmed them to look like old lodge poles.
Yes, yeah, that was intentional.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I looked all over Florida for lodge poles. You can't find even you can't find really nice round poles. You can
Yeah.
get kind of a sort of a fence post.
Yeah.
But
No,
they're-
I think this looks even better.
Well,
It's super cool.
I bought the square 4x4s and I got a draw knife and I sculpted them the way the Hogans and things look at the Taos Pueblo.
Yeah.
Where,
Like how you left the ends rough.
yeah, I tried to make it as
Yeah.
I wanted it to really match the cupboards.
Right.
And it's a kind of homage to my brother. I like remembering him.
Yeah.
And
He was a good man.
yeah,
Amazing artist.
but
You got whale ribs.
yeah, I got whale ribs up there. One of the weird things about being an artist is our ability
Yeah.
to collect crap.
I know. I'm
And
with you.
Especially when it comes to things like bones, because that's a structural item.
Yeah.
The bones to collect and draw and understand anatomy is such a huge part of being an artist.
It really is.
And
The scaffolding, right? It's the
how
the
would you
framework.
end up, how do you end up with whale bones? But there's a whole story. I don't know why you'd want to know it, but there's a whole story to how I got them, and
I love it.
if you're one of those people, who collects bones, then there are people who go, I know this guy who collects bones. If you're trying to get rid of those.
Let's talk about some of your etching plates over here.
Okay. Well, I got really infatuated with the concept of etchings when I started studying a portrait painter named Anders Zorn. And Zorn was a very prolific printmaker. And he would do these intaglio prints, which is it's a kind of a print where you take a plate and you cover it with a resin and you draw in the resin and you drop it in nitric acid, and the acid eats the lines of the drawing.
Right.
So when you wash the resin off, you've got these beautifully cut lines that hold ink, and you can ink them and run them through an etching press. And
Yeah.
the thing that I loved about Zorn was that he was so direct, which is exactly the way you and I draw. You just you open it up and you just start drawing, and and they would be kind of rough and so beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
And I wanted to try it, and I've done literally hundreds of etching plates. And once again, when I went to Disney, I was animating. I wasn't making etchings anymore, and now I've got a studio space that's big enough that I can spread out and print etchings. I can dip them in acid. I can wash them. I can print them, and I've got a drying rack here where I print them and I lay them in the drying rack.
Yeah, that's great.
And I finally got enough room where I can do this, and it is advantageous if you've got two people doing it. You kind of need an Oompa Loompa to do this job, because you've got to have one person keeping their hands clean while you're doing the dirty work. And it's been working out so beautifully, and I'm so excited that I'm able to start doing etchings again.
Well, all the years that I've known you, I've always known you to do etchings, and it's so nice to see you with the press out again and doing it.
Well, I could potentially do a video class on etching now.
Yeah.
It's a fairly expensive medium to get into initially, but it's super rewarding. It's really, really fun.
And as a working artist where you make your living from your art, creating etchings and prints is a great way to supplement your income as well, because they tend to be affordable art as well.
Yes, and it's art in multiples.
Yeah.
You do the drawing once, and then you're still printing off that original plate. It's still kind of an original piece of work.
It is. No two prints are the same. No.
No. Each one is a little bit different from the other, and as the plate wears, being pressed through thousands of pounds of pressure on the press, the plate changes as you start getting towards the end of the edition.
Yeah.
Things start to get a little softer, a little mellower.
Yeah.
All the lines are super sharp in the beginning when a plate is new.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating as well. I love to see how it transitions.
Beautiful.
But that's the press. That's the etching process, and
super cool.
certainly, I know you're familiar with kind of all the other mediums and stuff that I use: oil, watercolor, ink, graphite.
Yeah, and you're set up everywhere. You've got your drafting table where you can do your watercolor. You've got your rack there for your filming.
Yep.
For your doing your demos. I mean, this whole space is just really set up so well.
It's worked out to be really, really awesome. With the little, it's got a couple of foibles in it. Metal buildings are not the most conducive studio space, but they keep me dry.
Yeah.
And they keep me working. I can just keep going and leaving messes. I can make a mess over here. I can make a mess over here.
Yeah.
I'm not having to clean things up.
Do you ever get in here and play guitar?
I've tried to record in here. That's a little slice of hell. The metal building is not conducive to recording at all.
We brought some guitars, didn't we?
We did.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I got a whole house full of guitars in there.
Yeah.
We could pull those out.
Well,
Dawn is breaking, sun is speaking too.
Oh yeah, okay.
Shining on the treetops, in my window too. You can hear the birds chirping, and squirrels up in the trees. Oh, what a life for me. Alarm goes off to school you go. Nighttime falls, you're watching TV shows. Lying in your bed with dreams in your head. Oh, what a life for me. The moon's coming up, the stars are shining bright. As a young man, alone in bed at night, dreaming those dreams you hope will come true. And I'll keep on dreaming until the old do.
well, on that note, no pun intended, I just want to thank you so much for
Well,
having us over and sharing your space with everybody.
I want people to be able to look and see, you know, when you see a space like this
Yeah.
and you see what's possible, then you can start aspiring to a space of your own
Right.
and thinking about where can I find a space like this myself, you know,
Yeah.
and there are multiple places to look for it. I just was at a point where I had to build one, but that, you know,
Well, I'll tell you what, man, you're putting some beauty back in the world. I
that's
love
my
it.
plan, man.
I love it. It's super inspiring. So thank you.
You bet. Happy to do it.
Sharing it with everybody out there, and hopefully it inspires you guys. Yes, this is something to work towards, but you know, having a space like this as a working artist is so invaluable, and it really does help you create and
Yeah.
be creative.
Yeah, it really does. You have to really think about what kind of a space you need.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
You bet. Happy
And,
to do it.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye.